I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it's not great. The news is not great.
I will still stand here and say that I defend Hasan Piker in the face of these attacks. You think that these 80-year-old Epstein clients want to be sitting in the halls of the Rayburn building in Washington, D.C.? No. They want to be in Cuba. They wish that Cuba was still an Epstein Island. They wish that there were still those brothels there. Maybe Hasan wants that too because, you know, he's got an interesting history with the brothels. But octogenarians in Congress, they want to turn this island back into some sort of Epstein Island. A lot of you probably weren't even aware of this because who actually watches CNN? But back in September of 2024, CNN ran an hour-long primetime hit piece against myself and some of my friends. It's primarily dedicated to me, calling me some, again, the usual misinformation, agitator, foreign influence op, something like that, right? It couldn't be that anyone ever says, what if he's just like a disgruntled American dissident? It always has to be something crazy, right? Anyways, in that broadcast, they decided to solicit the input and advice of one Hasan Piker to attack me and to smear me. I was honestly kind of shocked by that because you'd think that, okay, Hasan and I have our disagreements. I don't go running around the United States campaigning for Zionist Democrats like he does. But you'd think that, well, in Hasan's mind, if he sees that CNN is attacking me for standing with Palestine and standing with Yemen, and, you know, they're doing this from like an objectively Zionist angle, you'd think that he'd say, okay, I don't want to be a part of that. That's icky. I don't want to be a part of that. But actually, that's exactly what he did.
In the pro-Palestinian movement, one of the biggest voices online isn't a former diplomat, regional expert, or even a Palestinian. It's a 24-year-old white kid from California named Jackson Hinkle.
That at all, just like you're not prepared to admit that Israel's a terrorist organization.
You're wrong.
Kim Jong-un is a peace-seeking leader. We're going to denatofy Ukraine, and we're going to denazify you.
All right, you just sound completely bonkers.
And the people in the established Palestinian movement just want him.
Yeah, the people in the established Palestinian movement just want him to stop. And who do they go to? They go to Hasan Piker. This is like, it's somewhere online. There's like an hour-long thing, and they interview Hasan for a lot of it. And they came to this event that I hosted and spoke at. Hasan Piker in it, he alleges that possibly Jackson Hinkle, you know, he says a lot of crazy things. Jackson Hinkle, he might be like an agent of a foreign country. We'll be right back with the video, but first, a major update from our sponsor, Saga Metals, trading as SAGMF in the United States and SAGA in Canada. Less than 48 hours ago, the company released news suggesting it may be sitting on one of the largest titanium vanadium systems on Earth. To put it in perspective, I'll show a comparison on screen to China's Panzihua deposit, a state-linked, multi-billion-dollar system responsible for over 40% of global vanadium supply and central to China's critical minerals dominance. The global vanadium and titanium market is worth over $50 billion annually, and Panzihua alone supplies more than 40% of the world's vanadium. Now enter Saga Metals with the Radar project, which appears to dwarf the Chinese system in scale. Saga may control the largest known vanadium-titanium intrusive system on the planet. This shifts the conversation from exploration to continental-scale strategic supply security. If ongoing drilling confirms the early data, Radar could become a massive North American titanium and vanadium supply source, major U.S. national security priority tied directly to next-generation technologies. Governments are already directing billions of dollars into securing domestic critical mineral supply chains to reduce dependence on foreign sources. The state-linked company behind the Chinese project is valued at over $3 $3 billion, roughly 6,000% larger than Saga's current market cap, showing the scale of what's potentially developing here. North American mineral exploration is making a major comeback, driven by government mandates, strong drill results, and teams like Saga executing year-round. I didn't think the momentum around Saga could accelerate further, but less than 48 hours ago, it did in a big way. If you want to learn more about this critical mineral story, check out the link in the description. Special thanks to Saga Metals for sponsoring today's video. China or Russia or something, you know, all the same things that the literal feds are saying now in their counterterrorism report. Sebastian Gorka, National Security Council, calling it an urgent national security threat, that I'm questioning the Charlie Kirk narrative. And they're accusing me of being a conduit of like information from like these countries in Pakistan and Russia and Yemen, right? So he said all the same stuff in this bullshit primetime interview. And now he himself, Hasan Piker, has found himself in a sticky situation. Actually, I don't think it's that sticky of a situation, but it definitely is not great. Federal officials have served subpoenas to Marxist political influencer Hasan Piker and Code Pink counter Susan Medea Benjamin as part of a wider investigation into whether U.S. organizations and leaders violated U.S. laws and sanctions in supporting Cuba's communist regime. Now, that is not at all what they did. They went there to go deliver food and medical aid and like basic goods to people who are suffering and starving, literally dying under these sanctions. They're literally saving lives by going there and trying to just help these people. They're not violating any sanctions supporting the as they put it, the communist regime. Okay, I will say objectively, like I do wholeheartedly support Cuba's communist regime. All right. I wish them nothing but the best. I hope for the prolonged continuation strongly of their revolution. I hope for their sovereignty. It is a very, very difficult chapter in the history of a free Cuba right now. But we are hopeful that things will get better through whatever means possible. Unfortunately, it looks like Rubio, the Trump administration, are hell-bent on trying to create as much chaos as possible, right? Well, Hasan Piker was like, okay, if you're going to starve these people, you're going to deprive them of basic medical aid, a country that has been known for decades around the world for producing the world's best doctors, the best pharmaceutical industry. It's their own pharmaceutical industry that they have developed there, free from any sort of U.S. big pharma or anything like that. They literally export doctors around the world, and they give people free medical around the world. That's what Cuba does in the midst of the sanctions, right? So Hasan Piker went there and he's like, I'm going to deliver some like food, some medical aid. And this is what the U.S. government did in response. So apparently, you know, this is what you get. The administrative subpoenas called requests for information, RFIs, seek financial, logistical, communications information revolving around trips the two widely bragged about making to the island nation in March with delegations of the Nuestra America Convoy, or Our America Convoy, from a global network of communist sympathizers, activists, and influencers who brought supplies to the country's ruling Communist Party of Cuba. No, they brought it to the people there. They brought it to the people there. They literally brought just basic supplies to the people. They filmed the whole thing. They streamed the whole thing. They documented the whole thing. And you know what? One of the accusations in this article from Fox News is that they allegedly stayed in some sanctioned hotel while they were in Cuba. Oddly enough, they did not stay in a sanctioned hotel. They actually checked ahead of time and stayed in a hotel that was approved by the U.S. Department of Treasury and OFAC. They checked ahead of time. They did not stay in a sanctioned hotel. So the Fox News article was alleging that they probably stayed in a sanctioned hotel. But you know who actually did stay in a sanctioned hotel in Cuba? This Zionist rat, Nick Shirley. He actually did stay in a sanctioned hotel tied to the Cuban government in Cuba. Of course, he will never receive subpoenas. He will never be touched by the feds because he works for the feds. He's a creation of the feds. That was exposing Gabriel Cuchilla's whistleblowing on the National Security Council Sebastian Gorka documents this week with Vine and Fig Tree company, that Israeli company that is doing work for the U.S. government now in the media ecosystem. So actually, no, Nick Shirley was the one who stayed in a sanctioned hotel, but of course, he will never be touched by the feds because he is their agent. Here's what Hasan's response was in short.
And I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's not great. The news is not great. Okay. I mean, it's bullshit, but still not great that, you know, they're after your boy. They're up my ass. And I'll obviously get into it right now. I'll tell you all about it, but let me blast off real quick. Free you, brother? Yeah, free me. Free me.
So he doesn't seem all that concerned. I mean, a request for information, it's not the worst thing in the world, right? Could be much worse. Now, this was my response, despite the fact that Hasan has literally, made part of his career off of attacking me and trying to, this is like part of his shtick, is like saying like, well, I'm not the craziest person in the room. There's Jackson Hinkle, and he goes on with CNN and tag teams with CNN to, say all these really nasty things about me, these lies about me. I will still stand here and say that I defend Hasan Piker in the face of these attacks. That is what it means to be principled. Do I think that Hasan would defend me if the same, crushing might of the U.S. government came down around my neck? I don't know. Frankly, I don't believe so. I would hope so, but I'm not holding my breath. But I will sit here and say I'm fully principled, and despite whatever, misgivings I have of him and the history and the things he said about me, I will say 1,000% unconditionally, I do support Hasan and, of course, Medea Benjamin, who I've known for a while, in the face of these Zionist attacks, these demonic attacks against the two of them and others who are just trying to deliver food and medical aid to the communist government of Cuba amidst the mother of all sanctioned wars, hybrid wars, and in all likelihood, probably soon to be all-out war against the free people of Cuba. Cuba's already free. They don't need anyone. They don't need, Netanyahu's puppet to come over and free them. Okay, that's just not what we need to have happen. Okay, so unlike myself, there are some others. Hasan posted this, said, "Judge me by my enemies." So you have Laura Loomer, who is quite obviously, and needless to say, very happy with the news that Hasan Piker has been given these subpoenas the same week Tulsi Gabbard's out. She's getting to see the news that Hasan Piker's been issued these subpoenas. She's very happy about this. She said, President Trump can unite the entire country by having Hasan Piker arrested. It's his destiny. But almost in a carbon copy tweet, we have Nick Fuentes, who writes, if Trump wants to win us back, putting Hasan Piker in prison forever would be a good start. He's just Laura Loomer in... I was going to say he's like Laura Loomer in male form, but I don't want to assume Laura's gender, Larry Loomer. And Nicholas Fuentes is the one who does go on dates with the cat boys and stuff. So I don't want to assume his gender either. He's in the group chats with the trannies and stuff. And he goes on these cat boy dates. So I don't want to assume either of their genders. It's all one, mixed gender identity for the both of them. They both have these questions about their gender identity, and they both want Hasan Piker to be put in prison. And they're both the greatest tools of the Zionists in the White House. Okay? So anyways, Max Blumenthal writes, an unintentionally hilarious article by Zionist nutbag Asra Nomani to justify the House GOP's McCarthyite fishing expedition Among the infractions committed by Hasan Piker and Medea Benjamin are staying in the wrong hotel in Havana. And this, quote, in a long live stream on Saturday, Piker interviewed another influencer, Ashley St. Clair, about having a baby with billionaire Elon Musk, rallied against Trump, defended the communist leaders of Cuba, and free associated about other topics in the news, including a shooting outside the White House, decrying the chaos in America, saying it's effing terrifying. Well, I don't know what's like bad about saying that a shooting is terrifying, but listen, I think they're just upset that Hasan does have that motion. Hasan's got that motion, and these crusty old stale Congress people, 80 gajillion years old, you know, Mossad isn't paying how it used to because they gotta fund $35 million to unseat Thomas Massey. They're just jealous that Hasan's got that motion. And he's flying over, he's on a boat ride over to Cuba. They want to go to Cuba. You think that these 80-year-old Epstein clients want to be sitting in the halls of the Rayburn building in Washington, D.C.? No, they want to be in Cuba. They wish that Cuba was still an Epstein Island. They wish that there were still those brothels there and casinos there. Maybe Hasan wants that too because, you know, he's got an interesting history with the brothels. But they definitely want that. They want to turn this island, the octogenarians in Congress, they want to turn this island back into some sort of Epstein Island. And this is their one shot at getting to do it. And they're mad that Hasan's got the motion to be there today. And he's doing it not for the wrong reasons. He's doing it for objectively good reasons to deliver aid to the people who need it. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.